Well, good morning, Venture. How are we doing this morning? You doing good? Well, we are so glad that you're here with us this morning. We have a great experience planned, so it's going to be a good time here today. If you're visiting with us or you're new to Venture, we want to say welcome, and we are so glad that you are here as well. And whether you're new to Venture or maybe you've been going here for a while, if you're looking to get plugged in, to get connected, maybe to take some next steps, one of the best ways that you can do that is by filling out the connection card that's included in the program that you were handed as you came in this morning. Fill that out, let us know a little bit about you, and then you have two options. You can throw that in the offering bag a little later in the experience, or you can take the connection card to guest services out in the lobby, and they would love to meet you in person. You can hand in your connection card there. But either way, if you're looking to get connected again, fill out that connection card and turn that in. Well, this morning we are continuing in our series called 90, where we've been looking at the life and the ministry of Jesus. And it has been a great journey so far. And we're really excited this morning because our speaker is going to be Chris Hansen, who is the family ministries pastor at Heritage Church. We're really excited to have him with us today. And he's going to be talking about Mercy Amnesia. And now we know mercy is something that God shows us, and we know that we can show others mercy and others can show us mercy. But we want to take a look at a story of a couple of ladies who decided that they wanted to show mercy and compassion to those who are living in Livingston County and beyond. So let's take a look at this story together.
It began with the questions.
Can I see some ID?
What's your home address?
I'll need to see your last month's pay stub.
We'll have to see your tax statements for the last 2 years to see if you qualify.
But all they heard was, loser.
It's all your own fault.
You are worthless.
You'll never amount to anything.
They were both homeless. Not related, these two women, Rhonda and Sarah, would soon become sisters for life. With $20 to their name, they met up one evening at a Taco Bell of all places.
What? It's cheap. And they have amazing bean burritos.
It was there they began to dream, jotting down ideas on a napkin, dreaming of how to bring God's mercy and dignity to others in a similar position.
They left that night sure of one thing. It would take a mighty God to pull off something this big. They would call it the torch, and they wanted His light to lead the way.
Sarah found the lead on a food truck. They raised the funds and purchased it. It was big and overwhelming and needed a lot of TLC. From the beginning, they wanted to be clear that this was not about them and vowed never to take a salary.
They used their business backgrounds and grit, culinary skills and connections, and the people started coming.
There was one requirement for someone to receive a free meal: a pulse.
Those who felt rejected finally found a place where they were free of a label.
The torch started to grow, serving different communities free meals different nights of the week throughout Livingston County. People started to hear about the torch, and they became a community of hope wherever they parked the truck.
They hosted back-to-school events, gave free haircuts, free tutoring, and free food. No questions asked. The torch was featured on radio programs, billboards, TV, and Women's Day magazine. Their first free meal soon became their 5,000th free meal.
And they're proud to announce they've served over 22,000 free meals to this day.
While Rhonda and Sarah had been praying for a building with a commercial kitchen to prep the food, they stumbled upon another dream. In the past, as disabled veteran, Sarah struggled to find work, and Rhonda had previously worked with the special needs community. They noticed the communities of poverty where they served, there was a large number of people with disabilities. Rhonda and Sarah were led to start another nonprofit, Torch 180.
Torch 180 would focus its efforts on training and equipping those with special needs and disabilities to enter the workforce with confidence and hope.
30 Serve Safe graduates later, these students will tell you that their lives have been changed for the better.
This past November, they purchased a building, and with a lot of prayer and with help of generous partners and donors, this fall, it will be the home of Torch 180's fully functioning restaurant and commercial kitchen, a training facility run entirely by those with disabilities trained under the guidance of Rhonda and Sarah.
Two women, loving and obeying God,
striving to see others as God sees them, showing mercy and kindness,
instilling hope and dignity in Livingston County and beyond.
all for free.
That's just how they roll.
When I was homeless, when somebody actually did show some mercy, some compassion, some grace, some love to me, it impacted me far deeper than I think they even realized. His mercies are new every morning. I think that was brought home to me so much when I was homeless, because before that, I thought that I just had to live the perfect life and that God was just waiting to just judge me for what I was going to do wrong. And when I ended up leaving my marriage, I figured I was cut off from God. I assumed that, I expected that, I was told that. And yet, every morning when I would pray, there was God. And he was just reminding me that he was there. And so when we go out and we feed people and we take out these meals, I'd like them to see, it's a new day, we're back, and God's here and we're here and you matter.
When I was homeless, I was living with a couple that didn't know me at all. They took me in, they heard about my story, and every morning they would stop and talk to me and ask how my school was going, and basically forced me to talk to them and talk about my life and how I was feeling. And I had no idea at the time that was really soothing and comforting and healing for me, because I had so many emotions that were bottled up. And I remember sitting in the garage with, his name's Gil, one day, and he said, well, what are you gonna do after you graduate? And I looked at him and I said, I just wanna help people the way you and Myrna have helped people. And he said, we're not helping, this is just what you do. And I've never forgot that. So when we drive up to these neighborhoods with the food truck, I think we're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
I actually have people say that it's possible to love too much, and that we've been told, even in our social media, that we shouldn't be giving away things for free, that for somehow that we're enabling people, but it doesn't work that way. God commands us when he says love your neighbor as yourself. That's it. That's the greatest commandment. When you're just loving, it's so uncommon in this world just to love people and to expect nothing in return. They don't expect it, and when they see it, they just sense that there's a difference there. And questions come up, and we have opportunities sometimes to talk about God or to pray for people or things like that. But ultimately, it's about love, and he'll take it and he'll use it.
Well, hey, I love hearing that story just a moment ago, the inspiration of God's love and mercy in their lives and in the lives of the ministry that they have started. That is so amazing. My name's Chris. I am a pastor over in the Sterling Heights area. Pastor Terry is a friend of ours. He's been an influence on our church. He's been an influence in my life personally. And so I'm excited to be here with you guys at Venture Church today. And as was just highlighted in that video, the idea, and I love that last line that she said, it's all about love, and he'll take it and he'll use it, talking about God. And that's kind of the heart and the theme of what we're going to talk about today is, will we be open to God working in us and through us to maybe impact the people around us? And as we've been in this 90 series here at Venture Church, Pastor Terry talked last week about this theme of we tend to surround ourselves with people that are like us or that just straight up like us. And Jesus really didn't do that. He had a different way. And so we were challenged to kind of see who's seated at our table. And will we consider inviting other people to the table? And today we're going to talk through, how do we actually live this out and make it more than a one-time thing? How do we make this be what our lives are about? Because all of us have some pretty good intentions from time to time, and maybe we can wake up and say, we're going to have a great day, and today I'm going to be kind, today I'm going to invite someone to the table, today I'm going to show mercy to someone around me, and then maybe life happens and it's a good thought for the morning, and then the morning happens, and then we're kind of reverting back to things. And so how do we make this a way of life? Because again, if you're anything like me, you have moments where you have those good intentions or the good thoughts, and they kind of dismiss from you pretty quickly. I had just a couple of weeks ago, I was entering a Starbucks by our building, our church building, and I was at that awkward position where the person entering in front of me was at that distance where you're not sure if you should hold the door open for somebody or not. They chose not. So they, as I was walking, they just kind of quickly bolted in, and I got to the door like as soon as the door had shut. Okay, all right, that's all right. Because that day I woke up and I go, you know what, God, give me some opportunities to show some love, show some mercy. I'm here, God. Let me do your work. And so I see two people coming down the street, and I didn't actually say those words, by the way, but I had that kind of thought process. And so I saw two people coming down the street towards the door. And so I thought, you know what, it's cold, it's a little rainy, it's hail, it's another beautiful Michigan morning. I'm going to hold the door open for them and I'm just going to serve them. I'm going to show them some love. And so I open the door for them. I'm kind of waiting for a minute in the cold. The two people are walking in, and then they're having this conversation with each other. And then they just walked right by me, like not even acknowledging my existence. And I don't do things for applause, but every now and then, maybe it would be nice to have a thank you thrown your way. And so I'm holding the door open. They walk by, not even making eye contact with me, continuing their conversation. And I immediately in my head went from, man, I just want to serve people. I hope they have a great day, to when they walked by, internally, I was like, well, I hope their day's ruined. I hope their day's awful now. And I hope they get their drink wrong, and then I hope they spill it all over their coat. And no. You ever have thoughts like that? No, yeah, me neither. No, I'm just kidding. No, but we all know what it's like to maybe have a good intention, like we're going to live this out, and maybe have an instance where we're thrown off a little bit. So how do we become people who live this out, the way that Jesus approached his time here on earth and what he's challenged and invited us to be a part of too? Because Jesus went towards people, gravitated towards people in his time here on earth. He went towards people that would be considered scum, as we're going to see in just a moment. People that the religious leaders of the time were going, why would you hang out with those people? Why would you do that? And he went after them to show them what mercy looked like. And so how do we kind of gravitate towards this? How do we live this out? Because it's in that context where these religious leaders are looking around, and Jesus was eating with Matthew and tax collectors and people who are considered, the worst, right? And so why are you eating with such scum? And this is when Jesus replied, healthy people don't need a doctor. Sick people do. And he's, not against well visits, and you should go get your checkups and all of that, and we should be healthy. But he's saying that to say this. He says, now go and learn the meaning of this scripture. I want you to show mercy and not offer sacrifices. I want you to show mercy and not offer sacrifices. Another translation says, I'm after mercy and not religion. I don't want you to create these religious hoops, and I know what you're doing, and you kind of got this checklist of things that you got going on, but I want you to show mercy first and foremost, not offer sacrifices, for I have come to call those not who think they are righteous, but those who know they are sinners. And there's a difference because we can get in this mindset, and oftentimes in churches we do it, and I'm just as guilty as anyone else. We get in these mindsets where we start looking around and going, I'm a little better off than that person, or I've made some decisions, but they're not as bad as those decisions over there, and I got my life together kind of because it's better off than that over there. We start comparing ourselves, and we fall into this trap of negating mercy, and we start putting religious spins on it and start creating religious hoops that we feel good about jumping through, and we start creating things for other people maybe to jump through. But Jesus says, I want you, first and foremost, I want you to show mercy and not offer sacrifices. And so one of the things that we're going to talk about today, if we want to be people that extend, if we want to show mercy to other people, there's something we have to understand, is that we cannot extend what we have not yet experienced. We can't. I can't give you something that I don't have. I can't say, I want to give you $5 if I don't have $5. We can't extend something that we haven't ourselves experienced. And what happens is, if we negate this or neglect this mercy idea, if we neglect what Jesus lived out, and we start doing our own religious spin to it, we start getting to a point where we don't even feel like we need the experience of mercy. We don't even feel like we need mercy in our lives because we're pretty good on our own. we got this going pretty well for ourselves, and we're going to keep this up because we're good people and we got it together. And so we kind of dismiss the fact that we even need to experience this in the first place. Have you ever had something in your life, like an experience that you've had that you just couldn't help but share? Has there been something, maybe you went somewhere, maybe a product that you bought that you had to go on Amazon and write all the reviews and give it 5 stars because it was amazing or whatever it was. And I'm going to put myself out there just a little bit and share with you one of my passions, one of the things that I'm excited about, one of the experiences that have changed my life, and that is I'm just a big fan of Crocs. Like not like the animal Crocs, but like the shoes, the footwear, the fashion, if you will, of Crocs. And I know all of you probably share that same enthusiasm with me, but I have people that question it from time to time. And they go, why would you wear those? And I go, okay, let's talk about this. Even if they don't invite it, I go ahead and extend it myself and let them know how great of a product it is. And they're like, I just can't imagine wearing something. They just look ugly. And then I respond with, you know what, you're ugly. And you know what, just leave it. Just kidding, I don't do that. But I say, all right, let's talk about this because you have an experience. Have you walked in Crocs? No, I haven't. Well, let me tell you, it's like walking on a cloud every step you take. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like your feet are getting hugged by this rubber whatever it is. It's great. It's amazing. And you should try it sometime. I don't know if I could do that. I know you can. You're just choosing not to. And it's bothering me. And so I want to let you know that you're missing out. I want to let you know that there's something here that I have that I just got to share it with you. And so it's the same kind of way when we really, if we want to come back to this, if we really have experienced this mercy that God has offered, the full weight of his love, his mercy, his forgiveness, then we should be at a point where, oh my goodness, we cannot help but share this and extend this to the people around us. But oftentimes it's just kind of natural. It's our nature to drift away from that and start kind of pulling back, holding on to it and going, this was done for me and I'm thankful for it. Now I got my checklist and I'm good. And because it's hard and it's messy to go and live this out. But there's a danger that happens when we start shifting into this mindset. Again, he came to call not those who think they are righteous, but those who know they are sinners. When we start to think that we have it all together, we shift into this self-righteous, this kind of elitist mindset. And Jesus has a term for that. And he actually, in Matthew chapter 23, talking to the religious leaders of that time, he goes, okay, you're hypocrites. You're hypocrites. For you shut the door of the kingdom of heaven on people's faces. When we slip into this self-righteous mindset and we create religious hoops for ourselves and for other people to fall into, and we make there be some sort of obstacle course for mercy to be accessed, we're hypocritical. And we're shutting the door. Oh my goodness, what a word that is. What a phrase that is. We're shutting the door on the face, or shutting the door of the kingdom of heaven on people's faces. And then he goes down to say, you give money, that's good, and we should do these things. But when that becomes what we are, when we take away this relationship with God and turn it into just religious things that we do, that's where we get in danger, because then he says you neglect the more important aspects of the law, like justice and mercy and faith. You're neglecting that because you got this thing over here that you're just doing. It's compartmentalized, and it's that thing that you check the box for. But he's saying, I want you to show mercy. And again, we can't extend something that we haven't yet ourselves experienced. And so Jesus kind of illustrates that in this parable that he tells Peter. And so they're hanging out, and Peter jumps in, and he's asking a question, which I think this question, he's actually going for some church points here with this question, and I'll explain why in a minute. But this is Matthew chapter 18. And he says, then Peter came to him. He said, Lord, how often should I forgive someone who sins against me? 7 times? That good? It seems right. Seems good. And the reason I'm saying he's going for some church points here, going with the church answer, is because common teaching at that point was that you would forgive someone up to 3 times. That was just what was taught. It's kind of like 3 strikes and you're out, and that was it, and there you go. And so when he says 7 times, he's like, look, I know you came to bring something new. I know you're doing something different here. I know you want us to show mercy. So like give me like ballpark, like 7? 7 sounds good, right? Like that's better than 3, and I can, okay, 7 times. And Jesus says, no, not 7 times, but 70 times 7, or some people wrote down 77 times. However it is, he came to blow that out of the water and say, it's not about keeping account. It's not about how many times do I need to forgive this person so that I can show mercy. The question more so is, am I a merciful person? How many times do I need to jump through this? How many times do I need to show mercy before that's enough and I've done my part? Am I living out mercy? Am I a merciful person? And again, if we're looking at this whole story of Scripture, God's story to us, we see that God is love, and we see that love keeps no record of wrongs. And so when he says this, he's just saying, hey, I want you to live this kind of way. I want you to live in a way where not where you're trying to keep track, not where you're trying to move up the ranks, but I want you just to live, and I want you to show mercy, because that's what I've shown, and that's what I want you to go and extend. And so he goes into this parable, and he says, therefore the kingdom of heaven can be compared to a king who decided to bring his accounts up to date with servants who had borrowed money from him. In the process, one of his debtors was brought in who owed millions of dollars. And my first question when I read that is like, bro, what are you doing? Millions of dollars? Oh my goodness. But who? I don't know. So he's got millions of dollars going on here, and he couldn't pay. So his master ordered that he be sold along with his wife, his children, and everything he owned to pay the debt. That wasn't uncommon. That's not a shocking thing. That's kind of the way to, you're going to shake someone out to get all their lunch money. Someone owes you a debt. They're going to shake everything out and try to pay up as much as they can, and that's what happens. And so he's getting sold in, his family and everything else, everything that he owns. But then he says, or the man fell down before his master and begged him, please be patient with me and I will pay it all. Then his master was filled with pity for him, and he released him, and he forgave his debt. This is a massive, can you think, millions of dollars of being just forgiven. Just like, I'm going to put myself in a position where I know I need more time. Can you please be patient with me? He forgives it, wipes it away, releases him. What? Can you imagine the kind of relief that you would have? I know, maybe you don't know, maybe you do, I don't want to assume. Maybe you don't know what it's like to have millions of dollars of debt relieved from you, but we know what it feels like to be relieved of something, or maybe feel just a little sigh of relief in different moments. Last week we had a wedding that we were at, and my kids were standing up in it. My wife was standing up in the bridal party. I was officiating the wedding, and so my kids were going to run down the aisle, and they were kind of one of the last ones before the bride, and we were left with the coordinator, at the mercy of the coordinator, to make sure that they were going to do everything they needed to do. And my wife and I had some expectations for our kids and what that was going to look like, and we just kind of assumed that if the whole place didn't burn down, then it's a win, right? Like, that's good. My kids are 6, 5, and 3, or 2, about to be 3. And so, that would be a win for us. Other people, more in charge, they had this execution to perfection kind of thought process. So they were just like, these kids, they're going to do it. And then the coordinator, quote, doesn't like dealing with little kids. So match made in heaven here. And so I'm up front. My wife's up front, everyone else up front, and then they're just going to go. And you know what? They actually did really, really well. They did everything they were supposed to do. They came up front. It was really great, and I just watched just rows and rows of relief of people just going, oh, thank God. Thank you. I'm so glad they just I was like, I'm glad they're still in the building right now. Like, I don't know, but yes, they did it. It was just a sigh of relief. And we know what it's like to feel that relief of something. We know what it's like just to have those moments where we just feel that sigh of relief. Can you imagine this kind of relief that you would feel? Millions of dollars of debt. You're minutes from going into slavery, being sold, your family, everything you own, and then you're released. And I don't know, maybe you have a little pep in your step. Maybe you're feeling kind of good about this. And so he goes, and then here's the next verse. When the man left the king, he went to a fellow servant who owed him a few $1,000s. A few $1,000s after he was just released of millions. He grabbed him by the throat and demanded instant payment. Now, legally, he could do this. This is what you were supposed to do, or maybe a little aggressive, but he was okay to go and do this. But having just come out of that, what a shift going into this. And so he demanded instant payment, and his fellow servant fell down before him and begged for a little more time. Be patient with me and I will pay it. Yikes. Those are the same words that he just used not too long ago. But his creditor wouldn't wait. He had the man arrested and put in prison until the debt could be paid in full. And going into prison means he wouldn't have had the opportunity to rack up enough, and it just wouldn't have, this was a life sentence, is what he was doing to him. So when some other servants saw this, they were very upset. I'd say so. They went to the king and told him everything that had happened. Then the king called in the man that he had forgiven and said, "You evil servant, I forgave you that tremendous debt because you pleaded with me. I saw who you were. I saw what was going on. You pleaded with me, and I forgave you that debt. Shouldn't you have mercy on your fellow servant just as I had mercy on you?" Isn't that the question for us? Shouldn't you have mercy on your servant as I have had mercy on you? Now, it's easy for us to look 2,000 something years later and go, okay, yes, what a 30,000-foot view. What is this guy doing? What's he doing? What's he thinking? Are you kidding me? He just had all of that. But then if you're anything like me, maybe you could put yourself in his shoes and the times that maybe you've been shown mercy and we've been so quick. I've been so quick to just hold on to it and not really pay attention to the other people around me that could use it as well. Maybe I've been really quick to go, oh, thank you, I needed that, and then turn and then really not deal with it anymore, not do anything with it, but hold on to it. I know I'm guilty, and I've not had millions of dollars of debt removed, but I know what it's like to have mercy shown on me, and I know what it's like to hold on to it and maybe not extend it. And so it's easy, again, to look at this and go, oh my goodness, but when we start thinking about it in our terms of our reality, okay, yeah, I can see this a little bit more. It says, then the angry king sent the man to prison to be tortured until he paid his entire debt. That's what my heavenly Father will do to you, Jesus says, if you refuse to forgive your brothers and sisters from your heart. Forgiveness and mercy, this is God's heart, and this is what he's invited us to, it's what he's challenged us with. And this is so near and dear because, again, when we start shifting into I'm going to hold on to this, or I'm a little more deserving of this, or this is for me and no one else, we start getting into that self-righteous mindset. And Jesus says, hey, I came to call those who know they are sinners, not everyone who thinks they got it all together. Can't work with that. Can't use that. I love you, show mercy on you, but oh my goodness, you're invited to something much more. And so it's this idea of, can I show mercy to those that are around me? Because it is the heart of God. It is what God's invited us to. And sometimes people think that showing mercy or forgiveness is being passive. And it's absolutely not. It is actually choosing peace. People think that it's kind of weak to show mercy. Now, we don't live in a world without consequences. Just because you show mercy on someone doesn't means you need to be like best friends with this person. I'm going to forgive you and then we're all buddy and everything. There are consequences. This doesn't get rid of consequences, but this shows, hey, am I a merciful person? Am I holding on to this? Because that leads towards self-righteousness. That leads towards bitterness. That leads towards a place that we kind of walk away from God's heart and walk away from what he's asked us to or invited us to, this life of freedom and peace. Because when we step into it, step in a little bit to the mess, we start to see God at work. We start to see what he's doing in us. We start to see that happening through us. But we have to kind of step towards the mess in these situations. Now, my wife and I mentioned we have 3 kids. And we just became foster parents this year. And so we have a beautiful newborn baby, and she's amazing. And I didn't mean to imply there that my other kids aren't beautiful, because I didn't mention that, but they are. I love them. And so, but we've been walking in this, and it's kind of one of those things my wife and I felt very called to and gravitated towards. And so we kind of jumped into this mess. And I say mess because it's a little messy. And it's one thing there are consequences, and I believe in it 100%. It's another thing when you're sitting down next to someone who you have every right to be upset at, you have every right to maybe even walk out on. But you look them in the eye, and I love the quote of, man, the ground is most level at the foot of the cross. At who Jesus is and what he's done for us, I am not more deserving of mercy than this person sitting across from me is. I'm not. And so when I can grasp that God shows me mercy and that I need mercy in my life too, it makes it easier to have that conversation face to face and go, hey, we love you. We love you. It's different when you've experienced it. It's different when you've experienced it because now you can know how to extend it. And I want to say this, you and I, we've had this opportunity, we've been placed in a position by God. And I say we've been placed in a position because we haven't deserved it, we didn't earn it, anything like that, but we have been placed in a position by God where we experience his love, his mercy, and his forgiveness. The full weight of it. We sit in this position, we've been made right with him. That is the offer to every single one of us. Whether you're here for the very first time, you come every single week, whatever that is, you're watching, you're listening, however this is coming to you, you have been made right with God through Jesus when we accept his offer of forgiveness. When we sit in that position, we've been placed in this position where we get to experience his love and his mercy and his forgiveness. But we've been positioned by God. Once we sit in this position, we've been positioned by God with a priority now. And that is to go and extend his love, his mercy, and his forgiveness. This isn't for us to hold on to. This is for us to figure out, how do we now extend what we've experienced? How do we now sit across from somebody who needs mercy and show them mercy, show them compassion? How do I extend forgiveness to the people around me who it's very difficult to even think about extending forgiveness to? I had a situation years ago where someone left our church and said some really hurtful things on the way out, and tried doing some damage on the way out. And I remember just being very hurt by it. And I remember telling people, confiding in people, and I say this, and it might sound funny, but I was serious at the time in different seasons of my life that, you know what, if I saw this person now, I don't know that I'd shake their hand. I don't know that I'd shake their hand. In fact, I may even start something, right? Like that's how amped up I am right now. But I said those words like, you know what, God forgives me, I forgive him, we're good. I said those things maybe to myself every now and then. But it wasn't until a couple years later when I ran into this person at a wedding. And immediately my blood started pumping. Immediately I go, oh, okay. Are we about to fight at a wedding? Like, I don't want to do this, but whew. Immediately all these thoughts started running in. And in my head I go, oh, I don't know that I've actually extended forgiveness to this person. Because see, when we hold in forgiveness, we hold in bitterness, and we kind of move away. Like I said, we move away from peace that God offers us. We move away from joy, real joy that he gives and provides when we step into this, when we start extending it. And so we get to a point, and I was ready to just kind of walk away, and they were approaching me and looked like we were going to shake hands. And I remember what I said long ago, saying, I don't know that I could do that. I don't know that I want to do that. And I remember thinking, you know what, I'm just going to walk away. And I've never been one to know very well if God's speaking to me, or if I just had like really bad Taco Bell or something like that. Like, I don't know what's going on, but sometimes I feel like something is inside of me kind of speaking to me, and I'm listening to God, and I'm still working on that area of my life. And but I remember hearing the words, as I was thinking about jetting, I remember hearing the words, that's not going to solve it for you. I go, oh, okay. And then I remember hearing the words, I forgave you. And I go, oh, okay. And so we shook hands, and we talked about the past, talked about where our lives are now, we talked about moving forward. And I can honestly say, until that point, I had not come to a spot where I could say fully that I was praying for him, that I was happy for him, that I was wishing him the best. I actually had moments where I wasn't wishing him the best, and you can make up your mind as to what I was thinking there. But I had moments where this was so hard, and I didn't realize how much of a control it had on my heart until that moment came up. And some of you guys know what I'm talking about. Maybe you're thinking of someone, or maybe you're thinking of a situation, and you know it's very difficult. And you know what I found is that when we really grab onto the position that God puts us in, and we understand that we are no more deserving of mercy than anyone else, and we really feel the full weight of God's forgiveness in our lives for all the things that we've done decades ago, the things that we did last night, the thoughts we had 10 minutes ago, whatever it is, forgiven. We've been made right with God, and he has shown his mercy to us, not so we can hold on to it, but so that we can extend it. And I promise you there's peace there. I promise you there's joy there. When we really step into this, we have an encounter. And so if there's conversations that need to be had, if there's situations that need to be addressed, then we need to walk towards them We need to walk towards the mess because we are not called to hold on to it. We are called to experience it so that we can extend it to other people. That's what Jesus did in his life. That's what he's invited us to. And I promise you, you'll see God work in so many amazing ways if we will step in to this idea. Because again, Jesus challenges us. I want you to show mercy, not offer sacrifices. Again, I've called not those who think they are righteous, have it all together, but those who know they are sinners and in need of a Savior. Now, a couple of years ago, I got glasses for the very first time, and I knew it was about time to get glasses because I couldn't see anymore. It had been like 20 years, I think, since I went to get glasses or went to the eye doctor, and I thought, you know what? I can't see things. Everything's fuzzy. I should probably go. And so I went, and I remember the first morning I walked out of my house with glasses on. It was August of that year, and everything was really beautiful at the time, and so I walked out my front door, and I screamed. I was like, whoa! Oh my goodness. And my wife comes running around the corner. She's like, what is wrong? What's going on? Who's out there? What's happening? And I'm like, there's leaves on the tree across the street. Like individual leaves, and they're all green and they're beautiful. I can see them. And she wasn't as happy as I was in that moment for me. I don't know why, but I was really excited. And it was crazy to me thinking about that and thinking about really when we experience the full weight of God's mercy, and we sit in this position, our perspective changes. And we start to maybe see people in a different lens. We start to see people who need mercy. We start to see people for who they are and their value in God's eyes. We start to see maybe the things that are gotten between us that we need to extend mercy towards in those situations, towards those people. And so I want to ask you a couple questions. In my position right now to experience God's love and his mercy and his forgiveness, in my position, have I taken God up on his offer, and maybe have I moved away from it? Have I forgotten what it was like to be first placed in this position? Have I moved away from his mercy? Have I just simply forgotten? Maybe take some time to think through, what do I need to do to step back into this position, to sit and think through this position? And then who do I need to extend love, mercy, and forgiveness towards? Who in my world have maybe I've been overlooking? Who in my world have I been kind of avoiding the conversation with? Who in my world have I been kind of saying, yeah, it's good, but it's actually not good? Who in my world do I need to find joy in approaching and extending love and forgiveness towards? Will we open our hearts to experience his love and his mercy and his forgiveness? And then through that overflow then, God will then begin to open our eyes to the people around us that we can begin to extending his love, his mercy, his forgiveness towards. Let's pray together. Jesus, we thank you so much for your love. We thank you so much for who you are, for what you've done for us. God, we thank you for the mercy that you show us, that you give us, that you offer us. God, I pray that all of us would choose to take you up on your offer, that we would remember the position you have placed us in. God, I pray that we would experience in full your mercy, your love, your forgiveness. And God, I pray that through that overflow, you would open our eyes to the people around us, that we would see firsthand who we need to extend mercy, love, and forgiveness towards. We thank you again so much for your love, for our time together today. Praise in Jesus' name. Amen.